There we go. Hello, everyone. Whew. I'm Lisa Zawrotny, and we have started a new project called Coaches in Conversation. Because Lisa and I have, through our journey together, we've discovered so many interesting challenges and opportunities for coaches that we think are sometimes hidden gems. And we wanted to bring that out in short conversations that you can participate in and converse with us. Today, as you see, we're posting it as a recording because we weren't able to work out how to do the live Zoom, the live Facebook, which is going to be our next challenge, and we're going to be focused more on a tutorial with live Zoom, Facebook. But it doesn't really matter. So what mattered so much was we kept above it. We kept on laughing through it. We had planned probably a month ago that this was going to be our live Zoom. We were going to do it. I keep saying live Zoom. Our live Facebook. The conversation is really about a flow of 20 minutes of what our gems are. And this is how it's going to be for the first time. So hi, Lisa. So nice to be with you.
Hi, Bev. It's so good to be with you too, and to get this to work at least in recording. There's so many things happening here. It was like life lesson after life lesson with being resilient and laughing it off and going, well, it didn't work, but I'm just thinking about all of the things and the reason that we wanted to chat like this is because you get a chance to be in the minds of coaches and how we think and how we perceive things, and to be part of this conversation, because conversation is where magic happens. And every time Bev and I get together, we come up with something new and we give each other fresh perspective. And in this case, yeah, technology wasn't on our side, but it usually is. And even now we're recording, so that's something. And I think it speaks to how when your why is strong enough, you'll figure out a how. It just may not be the how you expected, right?
And that is actually life, Lisa, which is what I find, this happens to us as well. Don't think that because we're coaches, we're above this. Lisa and I both have our own coaches and our own struggle. And this was one of them. This was one of the lighter ones. But what came out for me, Lisa, is that we always have, whenever we have a struggle, a challenge, a trauma even, we have choice. And we could have chosen to be angry and why didn't you do this rather, and you should have done this. But we just decided what we really want to do is have this conversation and be of value and wisdom to people. That was above the technicalities and the objective truth. And I think that in itself is so wise and has so many lessons, don't you think?
Oh, very much so. And the fact that we could laugh about it and laugh about it together. And like you said, in this particular case, it wasn't one of us saying, well, did you try this? And being really intense in that moment, but rather saying, let me double check. Will you double check? Okay, I'm requesting, you're requesting, nothing's working. And another thing that I absolutely confirmed before Bev and I hopped on was that she did everything right to try to invite me. And then I hit the request button like a bajillion times. It's a technical number. And and it still didn't work. And it was like, well, how life is that? You can still do everything right. You can do everything according to how it's supposed to work, according to the directions, and still something doesn't happen. So yes, the choice is, well, then what? What do you do with that?
And what I love as well is that because of COVID, and you and I anyway would be communicating like this because we're on totally different continents.
Yeah.
Is that the digital age has brought us so much wonderful ability to connect. And yes, sometimes the connection falls, but it's not the human connection that didn't flow for us. It was the digital, the technical connection, which we can always learn about and try again. What's important is that we can be brought together because of our technical intelligence that we've created the internet. So there's so much beauty in that, I feel. And we found another way around it, didn't we? We're here now.
Exactly. And it was that, again, coming back to that why, because we wanted to connect, we wanted to have a conversation, and we wanted to share it with all of you so that we can get new ideas and bring in inspiration and process things which we're constantly needing to do. And that was the most important part of it, and that's what technology offers us. So even when it doesn't go right, I say technology is great until it isn't, but really it's always great, because yeah, it's so incredible to me that we are so far apart yet we can connect so strongly. And it's funny that you and I wanted to talk about this concept, actually, of being coaches and of connecting and relationship building and being in this digital age, and how you bring the two together, and when is it too tech.
Right.
And then here we had this sort of meta example of how tech can play a part and sometimes trip you up. But what was key in that point that you made is that we wanted to have a conversation, we wanted to connect, and and we were determined to do that. And I think that that's so important as coaches and as humans.
Right. And I see in my work, which is based on fabulous people like Terry Real when it comes to relationships,
Mhm.
that he speaks about not getting stuck in the objective proof, like you didn't press the right button, I didn't press the right button, but there was something bigger than that objective ability for us to connect. And that is so beautiful, I find, in relationship work when people come in, you're right, you said this, blah, blah, blah. And let's remember the bigger picture. And that's what I feel. I'm sitting here calmly, excuse me, even though our tech aspect didn't work, because really what we wanted was this conversation. We wanted to share what we've gleaned in so many areas. So I think even though we've spent about 5 minutes talking about this experience, I think there's been a lot for us to share within it as well.
Mhm. Most definitely. And I love that description. I love even the visual that you have. It reminds me of an umbrella. It's like that
Mm.
overarching, that purpose, that the reason that we're doing it. And I can remember having a conversation with you before, and taking that bit of wisdom from you of this idea of, well, what's the bigger purpose here? And if you can point to that, you don't have to get mired in the he said, she said, or what did you do, or pointing of the fingers. And it was reminiscent to me of the idea when I would talk with my mom and her mind was slipping, and it would be, well, do you want to be sane and have a positive energy together, or do you want to be technically right? That those are your choices. And I was like, well, I'm going to pick the sanity one. I like the sound of that. So it's good.
Right, and I know that was a challenge and beautiful. So I think this is like a great segue for what we were discussing also earlier is about how coaches actually market themselves.
Mhm.
And my experience has been recently, and I'd really like to hear what other people feel, is that a lot of the coaches I've connected to online, technically, have not really wanted this. They wanted to know that I'm ready to buy in and there's no need to get to know me, they'll say. You just need to know this is what I'm offering. Does it work for you or doesn't it?
Mhm.
And I know in Zoom you can't smash a phone down, but I would say that one coach actually did that to me when I misunderstood the reason we got on the call. I thought we were just getting to know each other, and he thought, I want to know if you're going to buy my product or not.
Wow.
And it was rather sad to think that a coach is there to help people live a better life, a bigger life, wasn't able to connect. I felt so sad.
Yeah, I've not had as an intense and direct an experience as the one that you described, which is it's startling to me. I have had we talked a bit about this with certain bots and certain like automatic messages that are being sent. I find this especially when I'm on a platform like LinkedIn, when I receive any kind of connection request, a networking request or a friend request, whatever you call it on whatever platform. To me, that represents an initial connection where they say hi, you say hi, you know, like is this, imagine if you will, that, you know, you're you know, in the supermarket or the library or, you know, someplace, you know, when it's safe, of course. I mean, COVID's a whole different thing, but the point is that you're interacting with someone, maybe you're being introduced by someone, you know, and you say hi and they say hi, and then you have a conversation. And I've noticed kind of a missing chunk of that, where we're missing that initial conversation, like, so what is it that you do? Or what do you love to do? Or I noticed that you describe yourself this way. What does that mean? You know, just that curiosity and that seeking to understand. I feel like we're missing that portion in many respects.
Right, and I feel that that keeps us separated in a way when in conversation, instead of listening for inspiration, I'm listening for agreement. And
Mm,
excuse me, again, you and I were speaking and you asked me a question and it triggered a lot of thought on my part. And that was beautiful. It wasn't like, no, I don't agree with you. I was able to trigger a thought. And can we just discuss this a little bit further? And I think that's what, when we have that curiosity, we can connect. So the fact that you're a coach and I'm a coach doesn't mean we perceive our worlds in the same way. But if I think that I know the right way to coach, there is only one way, or it's only the Bev way, then I'm going to miss out a lot. I'm going to alienate you, and it won't be the coming together, which we so need all the time, the connection and the relationship.
That's such a good point too, that I think even more so than ever, we need that connection. We need to feel seen, even if not understood, you know, or at least that someone is trying to.
Wow.
And we need to feel like there's some kind of interest in who we are and what we're doing in whatever capacity. I mean, there are different levels of interest that people have, but I know for me, I get very defensive when I feel like I'm a goal somehow, like that someone is looking at me as a customer and not as a human. And I get defensive about that. So I don't know. Does that anyone else?
I love what you said about the interest, because I think that's another thing that separates, is that we come together when we can be present with each other. And I can say, Lisa, we're going to spend 20 minutes speaking. That's all. I'm not looking at my watch, or I need to get to the supermarket. I can be here and you can feel me feeling you, and I can feel you feeling me, and not wandering away. And the truth is, when we are able to do that, I find, wow, it's so much more relaxing. I'm not thinking, wow, I really need to be somewhere else. I can be here, you know, and there's nothing more attractive, right? When somebody gives you your presence, your time.
Full attention.
Exactly. It's one of the most beautiful things, tuning in. You know?
That's so true. And by the way, that inspires me just to share this quick little productivity tip. What you're talking about right there, setting a timer, is a brilliant way to do this. And here's where technology can help us be more mindful and help us with our connections, where it really does work. I do this with my daughter a lot. We love to do extra reading sessions together, where we're connecting and cuddling. We're in the moment, we're in the story, we're talking. And it's not one of those things where we can hop into it and then just go and not be mindful of the time, because we have appointments and places to be. But if I say, all right, how much time do we have? I'm setting a timer for 40 minutes. Well, let me tell you, when I set that timer, we are full in it. And I don't have to worry, because the timer will let me know when we need to wrap up. And then we can be fully present. And I've done this with her for years. I think it's just such a great technique. And at first, it may seem like, ooh, technology and timers and alarms, and is that kind of cold? But it really isn't, because it allows for being present, like you're describing.
Right. And I think that's really beautiful, because the truth is, we do need to be in other places.
Mm-hmm.
But if I am going to give you my time, then let me just give it to you all for that limited period of time, or however long. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that a lot. And yeah, it's not a dirty word to use technology and relationship.
Yeah, I can remember in the beginning too, from like a business coaching standpoint, with the idea of having schedulers and things like that. Like when people book me now, they go to Acuity Scheduling and they look at my calendar and book the time. And I can remember at first thinking, is that a little bit too hands off? Is that a little cold? You know, I had to kind of balance that connectivity and that high touch that you and I talk about, that interest in someone as a person, but also the efficiency that we can get from technology. And so it really was a matter of figuring out where you intentionally place technology and efficiency so that you can open up the space to focus and connect relationship wise. That's what I think is the
I love that.
balance.
And I'd like to even just try and repeat that. As you said, it's the intentionality that I'm clearing the space for you, and I am here. I'm here with you right now. So I know when I'm on the other end of scheduling a time with my coach or whoever time I am paying for, right? I'm paying for myself, and I know that they then are going to be fully present because I've said it's almost like I'm making a request. I see from 10 to 4, you have a space. Will you be there for me? Are you able? That's what I feel. It's us. I'm putting the request. Are you able to free the time to be there for me?
Right. And in the process of figuring out the time, that part is not when you need them to be fully present.
Exactly.
You can look at the calendar, you can go back and forth, you can say, "Oh, am I available?" That would kind of work. Maybe
Yeah.
ask a question if you need to, but that part is not the part where you need the connection. The part where you need the connection is once that slot is booked and we get together, we're right there, right? Like that. That's when you need the connection. And what I love, at least for me personally, from that efficiency standpoint, is having that automatic booking and having the technology work for me frees up my time, frees up my bandwidth, my my emotional and my psychological bandwidth to be fully present, because I'm not doing all this back and forth and the task switching and all the things that are such a challenge to us. That's being done. Technology has been, is I've delegated it to technology. And then when we have our session and we get together, right there.
Which I love because we are so busy with information flooding in all the time. So where we can release it and even spend that time digesting
Yeah.
and even sitting quietly, that would be beautiful.
Mm.
And we become more available then. We free up space, so I love that. We're coming to the end of our time together. Any last words or anything you'd like to add? I think we've covered a really nice topic today.
There's some resiliency in there. There's some being present there. If you are trying to find a balance, I think the word that Bev pulled out and I love to use is intentionality, right? And to be
That was the word I was
intentional.
thinking too.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. That's our word we're highlighting for today. That's what I would leave you with, is just making those intentional choices, and we can definitely balance being connected and truly having relationships and using the wonders of modern technology together that way.
So here's to thanking you and to helping so many more people live a better version of their lives.
Absolutely. And we'd love to hear from all of you. What do you think about this? Have you experienced it?
And reach
Let us
out
know.
to us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bev.